All right, here we are. An excellent episode of The Grail is about to happen with a fantastic guest. Introduce yourself, my man.
My name is Richard McCaffrey.
Photographer, rock and roll photographer, and former chief photographer for BAM magazine and a Bill Graham photographer. How are you, brother?
I'm good.
I wanted to have you on because, of course, I am obsessed with Dan the Green photos, and I've had a lot of people on, Baron Woolman being one of them, which you have a fantastic photo of Bon Scott and Baron's behind him. But I also had Dennis Larkins on, and my goal is to do a documentary on Dan the Greens, the festivals, and I reached out to you to buy some photos. And I thought, wow, what a great guest this would be. And now you have a book coming out and you have a couple books coming out. So let's get into how you start shooting photos. You start in the Army?
Yeah, I started in 1964 in Hawaii. I was at Schofield Barracks, and I used to hang out around the service center where they had a photo lab. And I got friendly with some of the guys there. And one day I was walking down the street and the guy says, "I'm getting out of the Army next week. You want my job?" So I said, "Yeah." And sure enough, 3 days later, I was an Army photographer.
Did you have to join the Army or?
I was already in.
Got you.
Yeah. I was a machine gunner at the time.
Oh, wow. And were you shooting Vietnam?
No. I got out a couple of weeks before my unit was sent to Vietnam.
Ooh, man, you got lucky, huh?
Got lucky, yeah.
Damn. So you're shooting for the Army, and then you kind of find yourself in the middle of the counterculture era of all of that going on. Of course, Rolling Stone magazine's coming out, and you start your own kind of newspaper, right?
Yeah, an alternative newspaper back in 1970 called The Point. And we covered all, the local counterculture stuff. Much of it was music. And that's when I started shooting bands and so forth.
What city was this?
Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
And were the big bands coming through there?
Yeah, I mean, there was Sly Stone, Aerosmith, Springsteen. They all came through there.
And it was pretty easy back then, right? You just asked and...
As it turns out, my office was in the same building that housed the theater. So I had full access.
You just walk right downstairs and start shooting.
That was it. I got a box in the mail from Columbia, I guess it was. And it had 3 albums in it. It was Springsteen, Aerosmith, and Lynyrd Skynyrd. So Aerosmith came by, and they were doing a kind of like a semi-private showing at a hotel in Newport. And so I went there. I had already met them a few times at the theater in Providence. So I went and saw them in Newport. It was kind of like a showcase for some record company people. And I was hanging out in their hotel room, actually, dressing room.
So then you get your first taste of rock and roll and you're off and running. How do you land in the Bay Area and start doing BAM magazine and Dan the Green shoots?
Well, when the newspaper didn't make it, so I said, well, let's go to California. That's where Rolling Stone is and everything else. So sold everything, packed everything up, went to California.
You were married at the time?
Well, we were living together.
Right.
Girlfriend and I, yeah. So we went to California, didn't really have any contacts to speak of. So I just started shooting bands locally and the days on the green. I spent a year working as a photo lab manager there because I had the experience. I hadn't really made any contacts yet. So I just went to shows on my own, paid to get in, days on the green and the local places. And I started sending them to Rolling Stone and Cream. I did have a connection with Cream from Rhode Island because I did some assignments for them there. So I got a phone call one morning And someone said that this magazine was looking for pictures of the days on the green. That was BAM magazine.
Right.
And my phone rang about 4 or 5 different times, right? Because the people heard them requesting it on the local KSAN radio station, which we all listen to. And so I brought my pictures over to BAM and, showed them what I had. I'd had 3 or 4 of the days on the green from that summer. So they ran a 4-page spread of all those pictures, and Bill Graham saw them, and that's how I got contacted with Bill Graham. And then they made me their chief photographer.
Wow.
Right? This all happened like in a few days. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. And so I started shooting for both of them.
And what year are we talking? 76, 77?
75. That's 75, 76. Yeah. And then, Bill Graham liked the photos. So he started hiring me to do days on the green. And I went from doing nothing to doing everything. They're all overnight practically.
And where are you living? In San Francisco at the time? Is that where you landed? Oakland.
You'd never find a place to park in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And the rents were too high. I mean, now, it's ridiculous out there.
Oh, it's crazy out there.
Oakland, just right across the bridge. I worked in San Francisco mainly. I also lived a few blocks away from the Oakland Coliseum, which was pretty handy.
Oh, perfect. Now, when you're shooting these bands, I mean, you're back there, and I mean, you're back there with like Peter Frampton and Skinner and Zeppelin and some of your stuff. I've seen a lot of the Day on the Green photos. I know most of the people that shot them. We got Michael, we got Baron, but yours really has a lot of cool backstage stuff where I can really see the energy of the performers about to go on or coming off the stage, and to see their faces, you could tell they're even blown away by the magnitude of these concerts at the time, because most bands were playing theaters and then here they are to 65,000 people, right?
Quite an experience.
Oh,
you can tell, like some of them were apprehensive just before they go on. Others were all excited.
Yeah. There's an interesting one of Van Halen coming down the tube that you sent me. And Eddie looks almost angry, like standing.
Yeah, he looks worried. He's worried, or he has a just tense because he's about to go in front of 65,000 people.
Yeah.
They were good. They were great.
Oh my God. Now you're up on the stage shooting, and you're one of the few people I can ask, because I was at the shows also, but of course I'm out in the crowd. But how loud was it up on that stage, man? Because that's old school equipment on 10.
Yeah. Well, they had the stacks of speakers with just on the edge of the stage on each side.
Right.
Huge mountains of speakers. And so you didn't hear that. It went straight out to the crowd.
Of course. Essentially,
I could hear the monitors better than I could hear, I wouldn't want to stick my head in front of those speakers.
Yeah.
But it wasn't ear-blowing loud. It was just so cool to be there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're inches away from like Skinner playing that infamous Freebird, or Zeppelin on their last shows in America, or Peter Frampton, or any of these, over the time. I mean, these are some of the most iconic performances ever by any of these artists.
It was quite amazing. And the whole setup was amazing. Bill Graham hired me to do that last Led Zeppelin show, and the last one they ever did, really, in the United States. And his Peter used to handle a lot of the stuff having to do with the Days on the Green. So he says, well, why don't we do something different? Why don't you start with Dennis Larkin designing the set? So he did that over at Winterland.
Right.
Took over the whole Winterland and had all these canvases, and he would paint, with the spray painter, because everything was large. And so I photographed him doing all that. And I photographed them setting it all up, the day before, the week before, essentially. And so I have a whole photo story from beginning of the concept. I have Dennis holding the drawing that he did for the original Stonehenge concept. It was pretty cool to see how it all comes together.
Oh my God.
Even I did both shows, all the bands, and even after the show, I get pictures of the piles of trash left by the audience.
Oh.
So I'm going to do a book on that particular show. Well, I'm doing an exhibit at the end of the year at a local gallery of just that show with those pictures showing how it all comes together. And so I'm going to do a book about it too at the same time.
Wow. Where's the exhibit at? I need to go to this.
It's in Providence, Rhode Island.
Yeah, I would go to that. Is it just one night?
It's it'll be up for a month.
Yeah, but I want to go when you're there and see it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be there signing books.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go because I can just do comedy like the next night or the night before. So make it where, you know.
Yeah, we got a couple of comedy clubs here.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me know the date on that. When is that?
Well, I don't have an exact date yet. We haven't, for when the exhibit will have its opening night.
Yeah.
And part of the plan is to get some of the local bands to do Zeppelin.
Yeah, that'll be great. How many Dan the Green photos you think you have?
I never really counted them. I probably went to 30, 40, 50. I don't remember. Everything's kind of a blur. I used to call it the dazed on the green.
Yeah. Were you doing a little partying?
Yeah, a little too much. Yeah.
That's dangerous because you're shooting with film, man. You got to get that stuff right.
Well, I didn't do too much during those years, but I graduated to doing too much later and had to leave California to put a stop to it.
Oh yeah. You got into that rock and roll scene of the city and just grabbed it.
I mean, they're pretty free with the stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
Now you have a book coming out called The Alphabet, right? What is it?
Yes. It's called Richard's Rock and Roll Alphabet.
Now, is that out right now?
It's out now. I'm doing an experiment. I did it as a special edition because it can still be called a work of art and I don't have to charge taxes or whatever. And I want to see how it would go first. Seems to be taking off pretty well.
Great.
So then we'll either print more and put it on Amazon or whatever. But I am going to try to sell it to a publisher that I've done work for before. Hopefully, it's hard to get even through them. They don't want to talk to anybody anymore.
Oh, really?
They want you to have an agent.
Oh,
you get an agent, you got to share it then.
Yeah.
I did a book with them. It's Rizzoli Publishing. I did a book with them called Great Camps of the Adirondacks, where I took pictures of these original campsites that people like Rockefellers and Vanderbilts built back in the 1800s or late 1800s, early 1900s. So I have a connection there. I'll try that first and see where that goes.
Now, with Bam Magazine, were you shooting the covers or just live shots?
I had a few covers, yeah.
Who were the covers you did?
I did Eddie Money, Santana, Herbie Hancock. Don't come to mind, but I did quite a few.
That is great. Bam Magazine was amazing, man. It really was.
Yeah, what's happening out there? Yeah.
It really was, man. It just, the bands would get a full page ad and put it in Bam, and that meant you were like a serious band. Like, wow, look at these guys. They're playing the Stone. They got a full page ad, And
magazine was free. It was distributed free. It went from being just a Bay Area music, that's what Bam means, to the California Music Magazine, and they started being distributed all over California.
Right.
78, 79. And they went as the national magazine.
Whoa.
Right. Unfortunately, at the same time, Spin magazine was
happening.
Was coming out, and they used the son of the guy that owns Penthouse, I believe.
Yep.
And they told their distributors, if you want to keep distributing Spin, you can't distribute Bam. So we lasted 3 or 4 months, and that was the end of that.
Damn.
Couldn't find a distributor. because what's his name put the pressure on. From what I understand,
Bob, I think his name was Bob Gucciani or something like that.
Yeah.
Now the Zeppelin show, it was 2 days. Judas Priest was one of the openers and Rick Derringer, but Priest. And I had Rob Halford on, and it's amazing to think about Judas Priest, how big they got like a couple years later. But, there they are opening for Zeppelin in 77, Zeppelin being the biggest band on the planet. And they're a totally different band a few years later. I mean, they're dressed in the hippie regalia and stuff. Do you got a lot of the cool Judas Priest photos from that day?
Oh yeah, a lot of cool ones. Yep.
Wow.
I covered all three bands. Derringer opened for that, then Judas Priest, and then Zeppelin. Yeah.
Now, when you're shooting at in the pit, the stage was really high at Dan the Green's.
Yeah.
How did you have some kind of riser you would stand on?
I had a milk crate that I could stand on, but I would get off to the side and shoot down the other end of the stage, so I had a better angle.
Right.
I did what I could do.
The Robert Plant photo you have, I think, is the greatest photo I've ever seen at Dan the Green.
Of him alone, or him and
him alone.
Him alone. Yeah.
You got that angle where you see the stage, and you also did Bon Scott in that angle. I mean, that is a magic angle because you really see the magnitude of the concert, how big it is.
The shot I have of AC/DC, kind of like from behind, that shows the massive crowd.
Oh,
it's amazing.
It's unreal. It is unreal. Now you got some great photos of AC/DC when they're young, running on stage. They just look like happy, goofy kids. I mean, Malcolm looks like, Angus we know is young, but this is really, when you see Malcolm, you're like, whoa, he's wearing like a yellow shirt and he's just hi, you're like, man, these guys are kids, man.
Yeah, they were happy. They were very happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
They enjoyed doing those shows.
Yeah.
They were into it. They weren't nervous, nothing. See the shot where he's mooning the crowd?
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. Now, what are you using? A Zoom and
what's called a 70 to 200 Zoom.
I mean, the clarity is unreal. You shooting Pentax, Nikon? What were you using?
Nikon,
rad.
There's Leonard Skinner. That's in San Jose.
Oh, wow. San Jose.
Like just a few months after I got to California, I still had a connection with them. Management. And so, they said, come on down. And we hung out with them first in the afternoon at their hotel and all of that.
What was Ronnie like?
Ronnie was terrific. It was great. Yeah, that's a real bummer part of the rock and roll history. They were just ready to blast off. Amazing.
It's so horrible. Oh,
Elvis Costello.
Oh, where was that taken?
That was taken at the old Waldorf in San Francisco.
Love that place.
That's a wide-angle lens. I was about 2 feet away from them.
Wow. I love the old Waldorf.
Yeah, we got Bowie and Iggy.
Whoa, Bowie and Iggy. Where's that at?
Bowie, like Berkeley Community Theater.
Wow.
Iggy did a tour, the Idiot Tour, I think it was. But
yeah.
And Bowie played backup.
Yeah.
The keyboard. He didn't sing or anything.
Wow.
Just, that was when they were hanging out.
Yeah. That is so, come on. Two legends, dude.
This book here that just came out last year, this Smithsonian.
Whoa.
Rock and roll. That picture's in here. I have several pictures in here.
Wow, that's a cool book, man.
Put on by the Smithsonian.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Led Zeppelin on the cover there. That's not mine. But
right. What do you do? Where do you work?
Well, it's a part-time job. I can work when I want. I'm a photo archivist for the Rhode Island Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
I covered they have a yearly thing and some other things they do during the year. And they hired me to take pictures of those events. And then they said they had this room full of photographs from going back to 1965, and they didn't know what to do with them. I said, what you got to do is you got to digitize them, and so they'll make it into the future.
Yeah.
If it's not digitized, it's not going to make it into the future. And so I said, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that for you. And I do it on and off when I have time.
Yeah.
I come here. They gave me my own office.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, what was your favorite venues to shoot at? San Francisco has some of the most greatest venues ever: the Fillmore, Winterland, Warfield, Old Waldorf, Berkeley. Dan
Boarding House.
Yeah.
Keystone, Berkeley,
the Stone, all of them. What was your favorite?
They were all amazing places. I mean, I really like going to the Boarding House. I was the house photographer there for a couple of years. And had you heard of the Boarding House?
No,
because they put on quite a few shows. They were more into the more mellow side of music.
Where was it?
It was right downtown San Francisco. But Neil Young played there. He did a show there, just a solo. And Dolly Parton played there. But they had a lot of groups like Asleep at the Wheel. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
Oh, yeah.
Group, yeah. And a lot of up and coming. That's where I saw Patti Smith. First time I saw Patti Smith was there.
That's amazing, man. Did you ever end up shooting anybody's album covers or anything?
I've had 5 or 6 of them. Usually they're reissues, though. I had a Blues Brothers cover. Not too many, though. Pictures on back covers.
Right.
A lot of insert pictures inside when they used to be albums.
Yeah.
Which I can really hear the difference between digital music and music that's coming from a record.
Same here, yeah. Big time.
It's really obvious to me.
Yeah.
It sounds hollow.
Yeah.
Feels like something's missing.
Well, it feels squished, like it's just flat.
Right, flat. Yeah.
What was that day on the green like? There was a few I didn't get to see, obviously. What was that country western one like? It was Dolly Parton and all those guys.
Well, it was Dolly Parton, Linda Ronstadt. I think the Beach Boys were the headliner. It was a pretty good show. I mean, Dolly Parton's great. She's the nicest person you ever want to meet. She's I took pictures of her and Bill Graham with her and Linda Ronstadt with Bill Graham. They were giving him a birthday cake.
So some people can buy photos from it. And what's your website to tell them where to buy them?
It's richardmccaffrey.net. Yeah, it's richardmccaffrey.net.
And do you have all the Dan the Green photos up there?
I have a lot of them. Yeah.
Right.
A lot of Dan the Green photos.
Now, if I do a documentary, can we use some of your photos in the film?
No problem.
Awesome.
Sent you? Well, if they're going to be in a film, I might need to send you high resolution. What I sent you would be good for the screen here, but I don't know if you'll be able to pop some of those up.
I'm going to pop them onto the Instagram and stuff as I tell the story.
I see. Okay.
Do you have an Instagram?
I think I do. I don't go on it much.
We should get you on there, man. Putting photos up. People buy photos and we can promote it and really get some business going for you, man, because, these photos that you took are unreal. They are very candid. A lot of these backstage shots, you see stuff like set times, you see set lists, and you see that famous chalkboard. You see the tunnel the bands walk through to get to. You can see some of the backstage. You can see the equipment. These photos are, in my mind, between you and Baron, are some of the greatest rock and roll photos ever taken in history, I believe, because of what was going on, these early festivals that nobody was really doing before. And to see the photos and the magnitude of all the bands, how big they became later, AC/DC, Van Halen, Thin Lizzy, Peter Frampton, Skinnerd. I mean, it's on and on and on. Sammy Hagar, the Eagles, Ted Nugent. It's all the way. It's my whole childhood up there. I really love this one photo you had. It's kind of an employee sitting on the fence, and it's Dan the Green 5, and you can see the jungle in the background, the stage.
Yeah.
That's the first one I went to. I really want that photo because I love that stage. I snuck a shitty little camera in, and I was only like 3 feet tall at the time, and I'm shooting these photos. And they're so horrible, but I'm glad I got them still to this day. You can see guys just wearing headbands and, tank tops and wearing sun visors. Ha!
Where did you live then?
I lived in the Bay Area. I grew up in the Bay Area, so I went to all those shows, and they're so iconic to me. So when I see your photos, and especially how good they are, I'm like, wow, these are phenomenal.
Yep, I got a lot of them up from that period.
Yeah.
70s and 80s on my website.
Okay, so you got the website, you got a Zeppelin show coming up. I'm going to go to this. I guarantee you I'm going to be there because I want to see you in person, and I want to look at this collection in person, and maybe we'll come out and film it while I'm there. It'll be really cool. And then you've got the book out now, and then there's the Smithsonian one. And is the book available on your website?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
Current book. Yeah.
And when's that Zeppelin one going to happen?
Well, like I say, it's tentatively planned for the end of the year. I mean, everything got put off that I was working on for the last year and a half. I mean, I had this book almost done over a year ago, but I couldn't do anything with it because you can't get people together.
Right. Right.
So I waited. I finally printed it in April, but I held on to it for another month or so because things were starting to get better. So now things are opened up. Yeah,
we got to get this book sold for you. And the Zeppelin one will be basically a photo documentary in a book of those last two shows that they put.
Right.
God, I can't wait.
And the shows and a little bit of the aftermath.
Yeah, I got to see the photos of the trash and stuff.
Were you there?
I'm 1 year too. I'm 1 year too young for that, man. That's why that's why it's the holy grail to me. I didn't start going to Dan the Green till 78. So Dan the Green 5 was my first one, which was Cheap Trick, AC/DC, Journey, Blue Oyster Cult, Ted Nugent, the Jungle stage. From then on, I went to them all.
I went to them all, I guess, for a period of about 5 years.
Did you shoot any of the later ones like Metallica or the Scorpions?
No, I missed those.
What was the last one you shot, you think?
The Day on the Green?
Yeah.
I think it was probably Bruce Springsteen in 84.
Whoa, Born in the USA tour.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool as shit, man. I hated Bruce at that time, and now I love him.
If you ever see him in person, you can't hate him anymore.
Oh, no, I love Springsteen, man. I love him more than anything. I think it was just at the time, it was just Born in the USA was everywhere, and I was like, oh. But now, oh, my God, he's one of the greatest of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I photographed him. He was the lead act for Providence College spring weekend.
Wow.
Right. And so we met for my newspaper. Right? And we get there and we hung around in it was the locker room for the basketball. It was in the basketball court. It was the locker room. And we hung around there with Bruce and Clarence. And, Clarence was busting his balls about he's got this pair of shoes on, right? So he pulls out another pair that he's like had in a box, right? Before he went out on stage, right? So he took the same pair of shoes, right? And Clarence was busted his balls about that. You know?
Oh, just like he had stage shoes and he had street shoes.
Right.
I can relate to that. I understand that. That's great.
Yeah. So the two bands were local, very local, and took them forever to load in, load out. And they played long. The Bruce didn't get to go on till a little bit after midnight, and there was like 14 people there.
Whoa.
This was his first tour, and nobody knew who he was, right? So he said, well, why don't y'all come up here, sit on the stage, get comfortable, right? And he played for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Yep, to those 14 people.
Wow. And you know what? They still tell the story to this day. It was only 14 of us. He played 2.5 hours. And over the years, it's probably went, he played 4 hours. There was 9 of us. Mid-show, mid-show, we all did cocaine, or whatever. That story's just grown giant.
There was these 3 guys that saw him, somewhere else 3 shows before, and they followed him show to show.
Wow.
Right. So that was his first fan club.
That's great, man. I love those rock and roll stories, don't you? That was a magic time in the Bay Area, right?
Oh, yeah. K-San. Oh, 24 hours a day.
Yeah. K-San, KOME, Camel. Those were some rock stations, man. Yep. I loved it. $2 beers and $1 burrito.
There you go.
Live like a king and just go see rock and roll.
It was an amazing time.
I know. All right. Well, great to talk to you. And I'm going to give you a call. I'm going to look through the photos and get some photos from you. I want to hang them in my house. I've got to have some of those Dan the Green photos. So I'll look through them again and I'll call you tomorrow. It was great talking to you. Right. And I cannot wait to see the Zeppelin book. And please, everybody, visit his website and buy some photos and a book from this man's legendary catalog of incredible rock and roll. They are unreal. Throw one up in your house, man. You'll have a conversation piece. It'll be great. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right.
All right, brother. I'll see you.